Sure, yeah, he'd be a threat underwater, but if only you could understand him. Here's a look at the Mattel He-Man in the Master Universe cartoon collection, Mer-Man, Ocean Warlord. It's an exciting time to be a Master Universe fan. For longtime fans and for a new generation of kids who love action and adventure, it's time to experience the thrilling action adventure of He-Man, Skeletor, The Secrets of Castle Grayskull, and much more. The figures in this collection stand 5.5 inches tall and have 15 movable joints, so they're highly posable for imaginative and action-oriented fun. Mer-Man may have had his fair share of rocky relationships, but he knows there's plenty more fish in the sea. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the new cartoon collection, Mer-Man, the tape measure is going to tell us that the figure stands at 6 inches in height, or Mer-Man's going to be 15 centimeters tall. I think we can all agree that this is the most Mer-Man-y looking Mer-Man we've gotten from the toy line so far. What? Here's a couple of comparisons. First of all, obviously, here's what the figure looks like with the original Origins Mer-Man. Not at all looking like the Mer-Man we got from the Filmation series. Predating that, though, in fact, although this figure came out a little bit later after the Origins version of Mer-Man, here's what the figure looks like as well with the Lords of Power Mer-Man. The original head sculpt, as you can see, looks a little closer to the cartoon, although it's still not quite right. A couple of cartoon collection figures. So, of course, here's what he looks like with Skeletor, Beastman off to the side here as well, and Trapjaw, a figure that in his review, his jaw was so tight that I couldn't even get it to move. But the fact that the jaw does open and close is also a nice touch that they included. And that's not the end, of course, of my Mer-Man collection. Just off to the back here, because he's the biggest of the batch. Here's what the figure looks like as well with the Revelations Mer-Man. Comics? I got your comics right here. Mini comic to come included, though, with Mer-Man. You get yourself one entitled Perilous Power, a comic that will come back when we look at Stratos a little bit later. Funny, though, I did actually get both these figures at Entertainment Earth, but unfortunately the site didn't list them sold separately. They were on pre-orders, so I had to get myself a case. The case basically just meant that I got myself a secondary Mer-Man that I'll keep still sealed in card. I also got myself as well as sealed Triclops from the original Masters, although it was the fan collection, but still part of the original Origins, so I'm just going to be putting those on my wall a little bit later. Though, going back to the comic, Perilous Power features, though, the two predominant characters from the cartoon collection, Stratos being the bottom corner, the front and center one being Mer-Man. The Mer-Man, by the way, does also come included with the Pearl of Power, something that's also featured here on the front of the comic. Advertised on the back, by the way, Teal and Trapjaw, two cartoon collection figures we've already had a look at. Wait, you had a look at those two figures? How did I miss that? I don't know how you missed it, but you can also go back. You can always go back. Flipping through this comic quickly, the artwork, again, is really good on all of these. The thing I like also about them is the fact that the mini comics have them specifically designed the way that they look in the Filmation series. So what you liked so much about Mer-Man in the original cartoon, you'll also like the way he looks inside the comic, and he's battling Stratos. It's funny, though, that advertised on the back is also Teal and Trapjaw, but they don't come with the exact same comic. They came included with a different one instead. I'm going to move that off to the side. Something that will be going into the recycling shortly is also the paper insert. The paper insert is this there, once again, not only just to waste resources, but also tell you that the head, the shoulders, the lower torso, and the booties can all be popped and swapped off with other figures as well. So you can do that too. Going back, though, to the Pearl of Power, the figure comes included with this from, I believe, City Beneath the Sea. And it's, in fact, actually listed on the back of the packaging. It's a little underwhelming. I mean, obviously, if you were to go, say, to a craft store, you probably could pick up a pearl or something like a marble and do the exact same thing as what I'm doing right now. It's maybe not as heavy as a marble. Marbles tend to be more of glass. This is actually all done in plastic, but it's not the most interesting thing to have a look at. And unfortunately, though, it really doesn't have a proper means of store in his hand either. He has one gripping hand, which is going to be doing absolutely nothing when it comes to holding the pearl, but he does, though, have a relaxed hand. You can take yourself the Pearl of Power, and it fits into his hand, although it doesn't fit in a way that you'd be able to tip the figure upside down. I mean, tipping it any bit of way like this, you're just going to notice that the ball's going to roll away, probably onto the floor. Grab it quickly. My cats grab things so quick. If I just take a few moments, and I think to myself, I'm going to grab it a little bit later. By that point, the cat has already decided it wants to steal it, and it's going to take it to a place I'm never going to be able to find. Anyways, the Pearl of Power is one thing, at least from a cartoon standpoint. It was referenced in the episode, so I guess it's okay that they included a pearl. But I just think, it's sort of, again, very underwhelming. It kind of falls within that category. There was one other figure that we also had a look at it. I can't remember which one it was. That came with a pretty underwhelming accessory. Was it Beastman? Maybe it was Beastman. It was probably Beastman. Going to move that off to the side, though. What's a little bit more interesting, though, is that the figure comes also included with his trident. This is all molded here. Not the softest of plastics, but, you know, again, a nice little silver plastic piece that he comes included with. Has the prongs on the end there as well, so he can fork. I mean, if you are ones like to eat things with forks, I mean, obviously, you know, if you have a soup might be the hardest thing to eat, unless they're also chunky soup. Remember the debate back in the 80s. The soup that eats like a meal was, do you eat it with a fork or a spoon? Who's ever going to really eat soup with a fork? I ask you that question. Anyways, it does fit into his hand, though. It fits only in this hand here. It clips in place and stays well in place. You can also as well bring the trident around, and it sort of, as they indicate on the back, I think, of the packaging, you can also put it in his hand like this. I mean, that's not really going to be doing much of anything. Let's remove the trident and put it off to the side. I tell you, I really like this figure, except for one thing. I think the color's a little bit off. In the cartoon, it comes across a little bit more like a teal color. Unfortunately, though, Mattel decided for reasons unknown just to mold the entire figure in sort of this pastel baby blue. They should have really added a little bit of green to this, making it a little bit more of a teal color. Other than that, though, I think the face sculpt is really good on this one. And if you are a big fan of the way that Mer-Man looks in the series, voiced by Alan Oppenheimer, who also, funny enough, voiced Sea Spray in the Transformers animated series, Transformers Original G1 series. He had apparently a typecasted thing where he always had to come in and do the voices of ocean characters. Sea Spray turning into, again, that little, what was it, like a hover ship? A hovercraft, and of course, Mer-Man. Mer-Man, I think, was my favorite of the Oppenheimer ocean-related characters, although the voices were very similar to one another. Face sculpt-wise, it's really good. I like the fact that even for the small as the teeth may be, they look like they're pretty well painted. It doesn't look like the teeth, or the white at least of the teeth, have hung on or bled on to any other areas around the face. I like the colors of the way they've also colored the orange around the eyes, and his little beady eyes also stand out really well in the figure. The fins aren't the most cartoon accurate, but I can live with that. I think the biggest thing that really I take away from all this figure is more so just the fact that the colors of the blue aren't quite 100% correct. Kind of my same feelings of Beastman. So just bring in Beastman here for a second. Beastman wasn't quite the same color as he is in the cartoon series as well. So they took a little bit of color liberties, but I think the colors are still pretty good on it. Mer-Man does have, of course, the armor. Now, the way the armor attaches onto the back of the figure's body, instead of actually snapping in place, these just loop over. And you can see there's a little tab piece here. The thing about it, though, is once you do this a couple of times, I'm only going to do this the 2 times that I've done it so far. One for this one review and one just before this, before I actually hit the record. I'm not going to do it any time after that, just because they don't really stay well, and the more times you do it, the harder these armor pieces stay in place. The colors for his arms, now here's also one of the things, too. The armor piece is molded in yellow plastic, right? The hands clearly seem to be also molded in yellow plastic, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, though, the part of the top of the glove clearly looks to be painted rather than actually molding plastic. So unfortunately, the yellow here is the only place that doesn't quite jive with the color of the hand or the color of the armor. It's the only other thing that's a little off here on Mer-Man. He has the lower trunks here, or the lower loincloth here, molded here in orange plastic. There's no additional paint added there as well. And for his lower boots, they are at least molded here in yellow plastic. So the colors at least are going to match that of the glove and going to match, again, his armor. I don't know why I'm moving my fingers so much in front of the review. For the figure's articulation, pretty much standard. If you're already collecting Master Universe Origins figures, or for that matter, the extension, the cartoon collection, then you already know by now what's going to go along with the territory of articulation. The figure's going to have a ball joint. So, like if you want to take the head off, for example, you just pop that off, replace it with a whatever, if you want to swap. I guess if customizer to make better use of the idea of swapping, mixing, matching parts. I mean, if you're just collecting the cartoon collection, or really any Masters MOTU Origins figures, you're probably never even going to take the parts and the limbs off anyways. But anyways, the head is going to be on a ball joint, so it rotates all the way around. It does look down, yes. It does look up, sure. And it also does move back and forth. Because he does have the fins on the sides, it's a little harder for him to get that head pivots back and forth, but it still manages to do that. Arms come out easily, even though he does have the little fins there on the tops for his shoulders. These are all softer plastic, by the way. You can move the arms forward, you can move them back, and because of already mentioning the fins, you already know that you can't really rotate the arm all the way around. Just isn't going to cut it. The figure doesn't have a bicep swivel, sadly, but what he does have instead is a swivel in his forearm. There's an angle pivot there, an angle rocker. What am I talking about here? An elbow hinge joint there where you can bend the arm. You can rotate the hand also as well and hinge that back and forth. He has a waist swivel. It's nice and tight, which is luckily, I'm glad to see that. There's a couple of, I think was it the Skeletor? I think the Skeletor is a little loose on the waist. Legs split out, they're on ball joints. You can take the legs and move them forward. Sure, move them back, why not? There's a little swivel there at the top of the thigh. Single hinge, again, only on the knee. This is the one thing that's loose on the figure on mine, is this knee here. Reasons unknown, I don't know. But I can tell you, like, this knee is a little tighter. Does anybody really care? Nobody really cares. This part, by the way, is also a separate piece. So because of that, it also grants itself a little bit of additional posability. The ankle does move back and forth. You do also can rock it back and forth this way as well. And all the figures seem to have so far peg holes on the undersides of their feet. Mer-Man was the figure I was really the most interested in getting. Mer-Man, I've always really liked the design of him, although he is, again, really hard to understand. It basically just sounded like Alan was always talking the role with marbles in his mouth. Speaking, though, of marbles, segueing self over to the idea that the figure comes included, again, with the Pearl of Power. Even if you liked City Beneath the Sea, I just don't think that it's a necessary accessory. I mean, again, like, I guess if being a thrown-in episode-referenced accessory isn't a bad thing, but I just think, like, the Pearl of Power, I don't know. I think they probably could have picked something better. At least the figure comes included with his trident, which is one thing I'm going to be displaying with the figure. For the likelihood of this falling onto the floor, for the likelihood of me wasting the time not to pick it up right away, and for my cat probably chasing us away, where it's just going to be disappearing. I don't even know where. Probably going to be under a couch. That's probably where all the stuff that my little kitty seems to be stealing. That's probably where the Pearl of Power is going to end up. Bringing back in a couple of other figures also as well. All the cartoon collection at least. Skeletor, Beastman on either side. And of course, can't forget Triclops. Loving this line so far. The thing about it though is one thing. I'm just going to move the figures right over here, at least the cartoon collection. Bringing back in the original Mer-Man from the Origins line. I mean, one thing I did mention in the earlier reviews that I'll mention again here in this review is that they've obviously given them brand new bodies, except for the female figures. For all reasons, again, unknown, Teela was using just, again, the Master Universe Origins body, which, again, I really think just a really missed error on Mattel's part, not just to design brand new bodies for the female figures as well, because obviously the scale is going to be way off. But if you're looking to scale these, you'll notice right away that the cartoon collection are going to be notably taller than the Origins figures. If that's not a bad thing for you, or if that's not a problem for you at least, it's a great line so far. And again, Master Universe for the cartoon collection, the one I was the most interested in was getting Mer-Man. Little late on this, but when finally the listing went up online over at Entertainment Earth, which again, I unfortunately had to get myself an entire case of them. No harm, no foul. It just basically means I have another one of these sitting sealed inside of card. I just end up having to pick it up that way. And I think I end up ultimately paying probably like $75 to get the case. And that's the case that included the Mer-Man, came included also with the cartoon collection Stratos, and then another version of another Mer-Man, I should say, and the fan collection. I think that's what they're calling it, the cartoon fan collection, Master Universe Origins Triclops, which again is a figure I ultimately would have gone back and tried to get one in sealed. So again, no harm, no foul. Nice looking Mer-Man though. The only thing I would say though is that the colors aren't quite jiving when it comes to the tops of his gloves. I mean, obviously they clearly have painted that piece where all the things around it that are yellow are all molded in yellow plastic. And again, the one other thing though is while maybe this Mer-Man isn't quite the same colors as the cartoon either, he's a little closer in colors that I wish that this Mer-Man was a little bit more closer to teal, not the baby blue we got instead. Stocking anything new in the way of Master Universe here in Canada is just a myth. It's an urban legend. It doesn't exist. I mean, I don't know if the rebuyers are just looking at the shelves and thinking, well, hey, we keep going back and dusting off the Revelation faker. If nobody clearly is buying this, then what hope do we have at all to restock anything new? Because collectors aren't going to be getting them. So there's always, of course, the option of going onto eBay, but then each of the individual cartoon collection figures that I've been looking at for a while now, Mer-Man has been sitting at around $40 to $50. I didn't want to pay that at all. In fact, I just recently went to Florida, went to take my daughter to Disney World, and I thought, hey, while we're there, a little bit of time to kill, why don't I check out a local Target, see what a super Walmart is all about. Apparently that's a thing in the U.S. as well. And I was hoping, if anything, even though I didn't have a lot of luggage space, most of this luggage space was already being occupied by souvenirs I picked up at Disney, but I was hoping, in the off chance, I could walk down the aisle and be blinded by all the light shining off the glorious Master Universe Origins collection packaging, but not the case. Not the case. I went down the aisle and the pegs were just as empty as they were here in Canada. So it doesn't seem to be just a problem here in Canada. Master Universe distribution seems to suck in a lot of places. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the case with everybody, because I know there's a lot of reviewers out there that have already had the chance to have a look at the cartoon collection Mer-Man. Had to wait a little longer. Finally, this guy did get stocked at Entertainment Earth. Probably not the most ideal way that he was stocked, because you couldn't get the individual figures, but they did have a case set available, which basically usually means that they just throw in an extra figure. You know, one figure kind of gets a quantity of 2, and then you get the other figures that go along with it. So getting a case of 4 basically meant 2 Cartoon Collection Mer-Mans, not a bad thing at all, Cartoon Collection Stratos, and a fan collection, or is it fan favorites? I think it's fan favorites, Master Universe Origins Triclops. The Triclops and the Mer-Man are just going to already be on, they're already on my shelf as we speak. I'm going to keep those sealed. I like the look of Mer-Man so much, I don't mind having another one sealed. So if you guys are interested and haven't had any luck whatsoever finding these in the wild, you can, again, click the link down below. They'll take you over to Entertainment Earth. That same link, by the way, will also save you 10% on anything that's currently in stock. And they also, of course, offer free shipping over $75. Going, though, back to Mer-Man, while the colors aren't 100% cartoon accurate, do wish that they could have been teal instead of the blue that they used. The blue, for what it is, does look nice. The figure's colored very brightly. Mer-Man should be a very brightly colored figure. He isn't as good, maybe, as the Super 7 Filmation series Mer-Man, but, you know, again, talking about crazy, stupid prices, I'm not paying like $100 for a Filmation version of him from Super 7. Good-looking figure, but I think I'm rather just happy to be paying, well, I paid for what I got of this guy, a much better price. I'm happy with at least collecting the stuff that we're getting from Mattel. Mattel, at least by filling the void in, means that as a new-time collector of these MOTU figures, that you don't have to go the route of eBay. You don't have to go the route of paying the ludicrous prices to now go back and get the old back stock of stuff that we got from Super 7. Instead, we're getting pretty good-looking cartoon characters. Mer-Man's pretty high on my list. I think still him, Beastman. I'd really like to say Teela, but like the scaling on Teela is still way off. I'm going to probably talk about that in one of the upcoming reviews when we look at Evil Lyn, because Evil Lyn I think is still using the same body. But I like the look of Mer-Man. He probably is, I would say, my top three favorite of the cartoon collection figures that we've gotten so far. He's a nice looking figure. I just probably don't have any plans of displaying him at all with the marble, just because, again, like the Pearl of Power, while being, yes, a episode specific accessory, just isn't going to work when it comes to displaying this guy, because the moment that thing falls out of his hand, it's gone. I'm going to turn around and the cat's going to go whoosh, whoosh, and it's going to be gone with that pearl. I'm never going to find it again. So I'm probably just going to put it back in the bag with all the other things that I haven't displayed yet with the figures, and I'm just going to display him with the Trident. Nice looking figure overall, though. I'm glad that I finally got the chance to get Mer-Man. It's that one figure that I've really wanted from the cartoon collection. And I think short of the colors, he delivered exactly what I would have wanted. What do you guys think of Mer-Man? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, let me know down below whereabouts you guys are located and how plentiful is Masters of the Universe. Are you a dry, barren wasteland as well? Empty pegs galore? Or do you have them as far as the eye can see? You can rub it in. It's okay. Let me know down below in the comment section. If you guys, in the meantime, did enjoy this video, I want to throw it a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and want to be on board for that review of Stratos, it's going to be right around the corner, by the way. Making sure that you're hitting that subscribe button down below is crucial. I mean, it's obviously a very important thing, but turning on the bell notification, I know it may not always seem like it's a big important thing, like it's not muy importante. It is importante. You want to make sure that you're hitting that as well, so you're going to get the reminders from YouTube every single time the person behind the camera is posting something new. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.